Welcome back to the Sideline Sorcerers. Today we are embarking upon one of the toughest divisions in the entire NFL. That is home to our two-time Super Bowl champion over the last couple of years, Kansas City Chiefs. And as much as I would love to make them 7-8 or 7-10, whatever it would be, I still have them winning a lot of games, making the playoffs, probably winning another Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be hard to take down the Chiefs. I don't know that I could see them going for a three-peat. Feels a little bit
Yeah,
extreme, but
I
you
agree.
know, definitely going to be making it to the playoffs here. Although I will admit right off the bat here that I have overestimated the Chargers in all of my other picks throughout the season because I picked the Chargers to win this division, but it was on accident because I do not envision the Chargers winning this division. I was just
That's
too
crazy. I
optimistic.
saw that down there on our document, and that
Yeah,
is just mind blowing.
I know, dude. It's honestly though, it's truly like maybe five of these games like haven't been picked for us yet. Like we picked like all of the other games, I think, except for like the division matchups. So
Yeah,
maybe like
pretty
six
much.
games were not
Right.
picked already. So I just was
hmm
way too optimistic on the Chargers with all of my other picks.
You put yourself in a little bit of a hole.
I did, yeah. I dug a hole and I fell right into it, bro. So I don't know. I'm still gonna be having the Chiefs make the playoffs here, but I mean this basically puts the Chargers at like the two seed right
It's
behind the
so
Bengals.
wild, dude. I
No,
mean, it
that's
could
not
happen
happening.
though. Like it feasibly could happen, but that is very, very optimistic.
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely out there. I don't anticipate it to go down that way. I don't like the way that it looks,
Yeah.
but who knows? Maybe there will be some surprises, some spooky, scary surprises this year.
Well, hey, I would love someone else besides the Chiefs to win the division, so I'd be totally okay with it.
There you go. Yeah, that would definitely make Mahomes upset. Definitely not be what anyone is expecting going into the
hmm
season, but it'd be pretty cool to see.
Agreed.
All right. Well, we've got some NFL news here this week. Jordan Addison was a bad boy over the weekend. He was arrested for a DUI, driving around in his Rolls Royce. A cop found him asleep at the wheel in his $500,000 car. And then he posted like on Instagram, like a day or two later, him drinking like a margarita. I mean, it's just crazy that he's, posting that stuff on social media right after getting arrested for a DUI. But yeah, what do you have to say about all that?
I mean, I just marvel over how some of these stars try so hard to throw away their careers by doing
I
dumb
know.
shit like this.
I mean, the
But
guy's younger than both of us, bro. He's 22.
I just don't know. He's got plenty of money. Just order an Uber, bro.
I know.
That's all you
Yeah,
gotta do.
exactly. Yeah, I
So,
mean, why would you even bother driving around your Rolls Royce in the middle of the night? I mean,
no,
that is so dangerous. I mean,
I know.
yeah, don't be risking that kind of thing. But
At least no one got hurt.
yeah, that is true. Yeah, at least it was not a situation like the wide receiver from the Raiders who
Henry
did have,
Ruggs?
yeah, had some
Yeah,
major injuries. But yeah, none
agreed.
of that.
Yeah, none of that. Now we got some of the Bronco action here.
Yeah, yeah, we both got him performing quite poorly. I've got him going 5-12 here. Looks like you've got him 4-13. So both pretty poor seasons. I'm gonna assume
Yeah.
that both of us believe that it's gonna be the QB struggles. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, even if Bo Nix improves and I like Sean Payton as a coach, I just can't find too many wins in here for them this year. I think
Yeah.
next year, after Bo develops a little bit and maybe they stick with Sean Payton even after a rough year, they'll be okay. But just couldn't find any wins for them.
Yeah, it was definitely hard. So I mean, I do. So their opening game of the season here is facing Seattle, and this is one of the few games here I actually do have Denver winning. I think they'll win the first game of the season. Don't love Seattle this year. Think they're just going to be kind of middle of the road, maybe a little bit worse than average. So I think maybe Denver squeaks out a win here, but after that they go on a little bit of a losing streak. Week 2 against Pittsburgh, I think they'll drop that game, and same with week 3 against Tampa Bay. I think they're going to lose that one as well. And of course, I think the Jets will be significantly better than Denver, so they'll lose to the Jets in week 4. But then week 5, I think we can have a little bit of some spice here. We've got a division rival here in the Raiders. You've got the Raiders at Denver here. So I think Denver might squeak out a victory here as well in their in the home game here. I don't think that'll they'll get a second win against the Raiders later on in the season. But their next week here is Denver at New Orleans. New Orleans going to be decent. I think they'll be able to take down Denver, especially, they're struggling at QB. Bo Nix needs to develop. New Orleans should take care of business there. Then I've got another game here that Denver's actually winning against Carolina. One of the four games so far that I have them winning is going to be this one. Carolina, I still think will be very rocky. A lot of building going on, a little rebuild action for them. So don't feel very confident that Carolina will get a win, or at least not many wins. Then we've got a tough matchup at Baltimore. Denver's going to drop that one. And another tough matchup against Kansas City. Don't foresee them getting a win there either. Then they're going to have a home game against Atlanta. I actually think this is one of the games they're kind of liable to actually maybe win this one, but I feel that Atlanta will still edge out a win here, like Kirk. But I don't know, I got a little salty taste of Kirk playing in Denver. I don't love it. But I feel like this could be one that Denver ends up getting. Then we head on over to Vegas, another division rival matchup here, and Vegas is going to get this victory. And then they've got a game in Cleveland here, or at Cleveland. I misspoke twice there. Cleveland at Denver here, and Cleveland is going to get the win. And that's 13 weeks of games here before their week 14 bye. They're going to be tired, dude. Their horse doesn't have any buck left in him, He's just
Yeah, no, I can't believe. Yeah,
tired.
there's such a late buy. It's brutal,
I know.
brutal for
Yeah,
some of
they've
these
just
teams.
been getting beat up on for many, many weeks here. And just a monstrous stretch of losing games. So, I mean, I've got them losing every game from, I think it's like week 9 here, all the way to the last week of the season. So, real tough stretch of games for Denver, but come back from their bye. They're going to drop a game to the other horses, the Colts. And then they're also going to lose one to the Chargers here away. And then Cincinnati's going to be way better than Denver. So, Cincinnati will get the dub there. Closing out the season, I've got Denver beating Kansas City because Kansas City will be resting their starters in the final week here. And yeah, bringing them to 5-12, worst team in the division here. They got a lot of work to do.
I like it. I pretty much agree with the whole sentiment of what you said. I
Hmm.
do have Seattle beating them early on, and this is a parallel to 2 years ago, first game of the
Hmm.
season, Denver versus Seattle. It was
Yeah.
Russell Wilson's first start in Denver,
Hmm.
and they ended up losing to Seattle. So it's current. No one expected them to lose to Seattle. No one expected Geno
Right.
Smith to be so good. Here you have a very different situation, but the same game. So I find
Hmm.
that kind of interesting. But I am going to have the Seahawks take that one. I'm gonna have Pittsburgh coming to Denver and beat them. They go on the road, lose to Tampa Bay, on the road, lose to the Jets, at home, losing to the Raiders. I don't really think there's a whole lot of like home field advantage for any of the teams in this division besides the Chiefs. So that's why I
Yep.
have a lot of like splittings of the
Hmm.
series, but the away team winning a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Then I have Chargers at Denver here. I'm going to give Denver the win. I just think the Chargers are going to struggle early on and then
Hmm.
surge at the end of the season.
Yeah, so
Denver at
even Denver
Baltimore.
here starts off 0-5 for you, and they don't get their
Yeah,
first victory till week 6. So definitely a rocky road for the
it's
Broncos to
gonna be
start off the
tough. Yeah,
season.
I just can't find any wins for them. I mean, they're not gonna
Yeah.
win on the road in New Orleans. We'll give them one at home against Carolina, I guess.
Hmm.
But on the road at Baltimore, on the road at Kansas City, absolutely not. I
Yeah.
agree that they can maybe squeak out the win at home against Atlanta, but I'm going to give it to the Falcons. I will give on the road to the Raiders, though, to Denver as they start to develop and
Hmm.
mesh a little bit more. But at home against Cleveland, just don't see it. Coming out of the bye, here's one I could see them winning actually at home against Indy, but I'm going to give it to the Colts. And then they go on the road to Chargers and the Bengals, both of which are losses. And then I agree that Kansas City will be inclined to sit their starters or at least not play them fully. And thus
Right.
Denver wins that game.
Yeah, agreed. So, yeah, neither of us are hot on the Broncos. Both have them as the worst team in the division here, missing the playoffs by a substantial margin.
Humongous. Worse than
Yeah.
this past year.
I know, yeah. It's all just because they lost their QB, man. They got Bo Nix in there now.
Yeah.
I don't know, he's just got a lot of work to do. Good player, but
100%. Yeah. He needs to
he's
develop. I
gotta
mean, as all
adjust to the
young
NFL.
QBs. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, here we're on to the Chiefs, the powerhouse of the NFL right now. 12-5. I've got him going this year. Think that's one game short of what they had this past year, potentially. Do you
I
remember their
think they were
record?
12-5.
Okay, so the same record as they
Yeah.
had this past year. I think that I was pretty fair in my assessment of these picks here, although we do have them starting their season substantially different ways. I've got them going on their hot streak later in the season. You got it early on, but all right, starting off here, Baltimore at Kansas City. I'm liking the Chiefs in this one, still able to take control of the Ravens. Then Cincinnati at KC. I've got Cincinnati getting this one. I know you don't like this pick though, because you say that Joe Burrow always beats Mahomes historically, and law of averages has to come through.
No,
And
trust me, I agree.
yeah.
I agree. I have, yeah. Well, I don't know. I would love to see the Bengals win, but it's an emotional game for me, so I had to pick the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, Kansas City at Atlanta here. Kirk's dropping this one. Not going to be able to take down the Super Bowl champs. Then we've got KC at the Chargers here, and I've actually got the Chargers winning this in kind of a surprising fashion here for Week 4, taking down the Chiefs. Going to be one of Harbaugh's most noteworthy wins of the season, being able to beat the Chiefs so early on in the season. But then they're going to go and face New Orleans, and they're going to get a win there before heading into their Week 6 bye. Very early bye for the Chiefs after Denver had to wait till Week 14 for their bye. But then we've got Kansas City at San Fran here, and even though they rested up from their bye week, they're going to drop a tough game here to San Francisco. But that's when the tear begins. The excitement commences. They're going to get a whole bunch of wins here. They've got games against Las Vegas, Tampa Bay, and Denver all straight. They're going to get wins in all three of those. Then they're going to have a nail biter here against Buffalo, similar to what happened last year, but they're going to win it this time, bro. I don't like having to say that, but I think that Kansas City will get the win against Buffalo in the regular season, even though it doesn't normally happen. He normally takes care of business in the playoffs, but he's going to get the win in the regular season this time around. And then they're also going to have an easy win against Carolina. But then what do we have next year? Well, we've got Las Vegas coming into KC and getting a victory. Kind of like me slyly predicting that last season.
Yeah, I knew
We're
you were
gonna,
gonna predict that.
yeah,
I
we're
knew
gonna
it, but
predict it
there's no
again.
way. There's no way.
2 years straight, bro. It's gonna happen. After that, KC goes on a tear for the rest of the season. Tear number 2. They're gonna win against the Chargers, win against Cleveland, get a win against Houston. I don't like having to say that either, but they're beating both my teams this year. They're beating Houston, they're beating Buffalo. And then closing out the season, they're going to win against Pittsburgh, rest their starters in week 18, and lose to Denver. But who cares because they already locked up the playoffs.
Sounds good to me. I have them also going 12-5, a little bit different route there. I have them going on a 5-game winning streak to open up the season at
Hmm.
home against Baltimore and Cincinnati, and then on the road against Atlanta Chargers, and then back home against New Orleans. So a great start to the year
Yeah,
for them. Going into their bye 5-0, coming out though, they're going to lose 2 games on the road to San Fran and Vegas. I don't even feel great about these picks because you think coming off of a bye like San Fran, well, Kansas City is usually awesome off of a bye.
right.
Andy Reid historically is. So I honestly don't love this pick. I almost want to change it, but I'm gonna leave it. I just think San Fran's gonna be so hungry to get revenge. But man, I
Hmm.
could totally see them winning that game as well. But losing to Vegas seems very plausible at Vegas early on. Then coming back at home for Tampa and Denver, winning both. On the road at Buffalo, though, I'm going to give that one to the Bills. Then at Carolina, obviously the Chiefs there. Vegas at Kansas City. Kansas City levels out that series. Chargers come to town. I am going to give this one to the Chargers just because it's a little later on in the season. Don't feel
Hmm.
great about it, but I do think that Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert are going to start to mesh a little bit more as the season goes on. We'll get to that later. Then Kansas City at Cleveland. I'm going to give it to the Browns. Houston at Kansas City is one I feel like the Texans could pull off, but I will give it to the
Hmm.
Chiefs. Chiefs at Pittsburgh. I'm gonna have to take the Chiefs, and then Chiefs at Denver. Like you said, I'm going to take the Broncos here just because it's kind of like that last not so meaningful game for the Chiefs.
Right. Yeah, I like it. And I'm glad that you snuck in a Las Vegas victory, even though it's
Yeah.
the one where they're at home instead
Hmm.
of being away. But
Yeah.
they did win last year on Christmas Day when they were away at the Chiefs. So,
Honestly, might have been the most fluky win of the last five
I mean,
years.
I remember that. Wasn't it something like they didn't have a single like offensive like yard in the second half or like something like that?
Yeah, the Raiders didn't. The
Yeah,
Raiders
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
have
yeah.
any passing yards in like the
Yeah,
last three
exactly.
quarters of the game.
I mean, that was just absurd that they still pulled off a victory there, bro.
It was crazy. It was
Yeah.
so fluky. That's what I mean. Like that's never gonna happen again.
I know, but maybe this time they'll get some passing yards in
Yeah, maybe
the
they'll
third
win like
quarter.
just legitimately, like not
Yeah.
in a goofy way.
Yeah, exactly. But so what would this put the Chiefs at in your playoff rankings? Like, do we know yet? Would this be like the 2 seed, do you think? Because the Bengals, I think you had 14-3 or 13-4 or something like that.
This would definitely be the two seed. Yeah.
Okay,
Because
got
it
it.
would be for me, Jets, number one seed. No, no, no. Oh, this would be, it would depend on, because they would tie with the Jets, according to my calculations here.
Wait, what
So,
did you have the Bengals though, dude? I thought you had the Bengals with 13 wins.
yeah. So the Bengals would undoubtedly be the number one seed.
Oh, so then Chiefs and Jets would be tied for the 2 seed
Correct.
based on like
So I'd
what like
have to,
conference performance?
it would go to, yeah. I'd have to do some calculations of their divisional
Got it,
records and
got it.
conference records to determine who would get that. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, the two and the three seed for you, they would most definitely be the sixth seed, though.
Yeah,
The
that's
five seed, rather, the five seed. The
okay.
first wild
Yeah.
card is what I meant.
See, the Chargers making the playoffs is really what screwed up all my picks, like winning their division, because that's not supposed to happen. I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, 13-4 for the Chargers is wild, but
I mean, bro,
hey.
I was like ridiculously optimistic on them. The only team that I had beating them the entire season was Tennessee, of all teams. Tennessee. Every
Damn,
other
dude.
team, I picked like the Chargers, except for like the division matchups because we hadn't made
I
those
don't
yet.
know what you were thinking because you thought you were more optimistic about Kansas City and was worried about their win total more
I
so than the
was.
Chargers.
I mean, bro, this is what's like it's liable to happen when we're making these picks without looking at all the teams at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like it's bound to happen. It was just difficult to make all those picks without seeing how many times I'm picking each team.
I don't know. I feel pretty good about all my picks so far. I like how
Okay.
everything's unfolding.
All right. Everything else unfolded nicely except for this. And maybe the Jets being 15 and like 2 or 16 and 1.
Yeah. It's a little girthed.
A little girthed, yeah. All right. Let's rip it with the Raiders. I'm still confident in my Raiders pick here, though. You're a little bit more optimistic, but I've got them going 7-10 here. Don't love the Raiders this year. I think they're still going to have some problems like they did last year. I think they finished 9-8 last year. Surprising that they had a winning record. Maybe they were 8-9.
No, it
I
was
can't
A
remember.
nine.
8-9. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess 7-10 is just marginally worse, but even still, don't feel that they're going to be that great. Just a run of the mill, little worse than average kind of team. But starting off first week of the season, they've got a game against the Chargers. They're going to drop this. Got to give the home opener here to the Chargers for me. Then they're going to lose to Baltimore, a really tough matchup here in week 2. Then they're going to get some luck with an easy couple matchups here. They've got a game against Carolina and Cleveland. They're going to win both of those. And then they've got to head on over to Denver, and this is one they're going to drop to Denver to start off the season 2-3. Then you've got Pittsburgh and the Rams. They're going to lose both of those games as well. Pittsburgh, not bad, just a little bit. I think they'll edge out the Raiders in this game. I think I had both teams going like 7-10 though. So it should be like a decent game, but don't feel great about Vegas winning this one. And then the Rams as well. I feel like I've also picked the Rams in like almost every game that I've like seen them in. So I'm a little worried when we do
Yeah.
the NFC West next week. Um, might have the Rams winning that division instead of San Fran, which is a little concerning, but we'll
I
see. We'll
would
see
be
what
okay
happens.
with that, actually. I would be okay if it folded that way.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's like it's in the realm of possibility, but I can't be having them going like 16-1 though, because I
Yeah,
feel like
no.
I've picked the Rams like every time.
Yeah. No, I've been picking him a lot too.
Yeah. All right. Then we've got Kansas City at Las Vegas. Got Kansas City winning this one when they're at Vegas's home stadium, and then Vegas is going to head to Cincinnati, and they're going to drop that game as well before their Week 10 bye. So, pretty rough start for the Raiders, 2-8 or 2-7 before their Week 10 bye. So, really rocky road for them. But they come back from their bye and they're energized, they're galvanized. They get some wins here against Miami and Denver. Then they get that notorious victory against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So, a pretty exciting win for them there. And they keep their momentum going with a win against Tampa Bay at Tampa Bay. This is when their streak comes to an end, though. They're going to drop a game to Atlanta. Then they got another tough matchup here against Jacksonville. I don't think they're going to win that one. And then finally, last loss of the season is going to be at New Orleans in New Orleans. Don't feel great about Vegas coming in there and winning that game at the end of the season. And then finally, we've got the last week here, Chargers at Vegas. I've got Vegas getting the win here. A little bit of revenge from earlier in the season, the first week of the season when Las Vegas lost to the Chargers.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, we're a couple games off. I am a little more optimistic on them, but
Hmm.
on the flip side of for Denver not being able to find any wins, I can't find any losses early on for the Raiders besides Baltimore. I
Hmm.
think they go in and they beat the Chargers. It doesn't matter. Chargers have the worst home field advantage in all of the league, so they might as well be playing at home. This is the first time Jim Harbaugh will be coaching that team. So I think easy
Hmm.
win for Vegas. Baltimore does get them obviously at home. Then they're at home. Carolina and Cleveland. I don't believe in those two teams a ton this year. I think Carolina will be improved. I think Cleveland will be worse. I do have the Raiders
Hmm.
winning both, then going to Denver and beating them as they're still developing. So they start off 4-1, make that 5-1 at home against Pittsburgh. They get revenge for losing with three interceptions from Jimmy G last year to Pittsburgh. But I do
Hmm.
have them going on the road, losing to the Rams. And I have them here at home beating Kansas City. So this is an insane stretch for the Raiders
Yeah,
to open up the year. I mean, what would this be? 7-2? Yeah,
that's
absolutely
like the
insane.
exact opposite of what I had, bro. I mean, it's crazy.
7-2
Six
for
and
the
two,
Raiders.
six
Six and
six and
two.
two here for the Raiders, but yeah, I had them going 2-7 to start off the season. So,
That's crazy. I do have them then losing at the Bengals, going into their bye 6-3. Then they drop a game to Miami 6-4. Then they beat Denver, so they sweep Denver because Denver they get Denver both relatively early in the season. Then they lose at Kansas City. They come back at home, or no, they go to Tampa. They beat Tampa. I mean, they have an easy schedule this year. Then they're at a home
hmm.
against Atlanta. I have Atlanta winning this game, but I could totally see them beating the Falcons. I have them then at home against Jacksonville. I think this is a good spot for them, kind of late in the season for the Jaguars. And I think they're able to
Hmm.
sneak one away. They go to New Orleans, they drop that game, and then at home here against the Chargers, I am going to give it to the Chargers, even though I don't know, man. This is another one I could see them winning because in my scenario, this would be a huge game, depending on if they could get into the playoffs.
Hmm.
If they won this game, they'd be 10-7, almost certainly in the
Yeah.
playoffs. So we'll see how it unfolds, but I really think that they could be sneaky good and sneak into the playoffs.
Dude, that'd be crazy. Yeah, I was about to say, it looks like you said maybe two or three times in there, like you could definitely see them winning this game, which would
Yeah,
like put them at like 11-6 or potentially 12-5, which would be absurd.
I think it's possible. They have
Yeah,
an
I mean,
easy
they would,
schedule.
their schedule is, quite a bit better than it was previously, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in their talent.
I mean, Devonte Adams, you got Gardner Minshew,
Yeah,
who's an
but like
absolute stud.
Devontae, Scrovante has not done anything on the Raiders since he's been there, bro.
Oh, let's not get into this again. Remember, we had
He
this
hasn't.
conversation last year at the beginning of the fantasy year, and you're like, Devontae had like a horrible fantasy year, and we looked it up, and he had like the fifth best wide receiver for fantasy football.
But
That
it
was his
didn't feel
first
like
year.
he did, though. It
But
didn't feel like
he's
he
still
did.
producing. His last year was not as good, but that's because they're more balanced now. They got Jacoby Myers, who you're very well aware with, a little first time touchdown scorer.
Yeah, I mean, Jacoby hawks those touchdowns from him.
And he's fine with it. He's a team player.
Yeah, except for when he rips off his helmet and smashes it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I love that though. I just love the fire out of him.
Okay.
So there you have it.
Alrighty. Well, that brings it to the Chargers here, the overly optimistic Chargers at 13-4, winning the division. I mean, this is gonna be tough for me to even like go through and talk about these picks legitimately because I don't even have a lot of confidence in some of these at this point, since the only games I could modify were the division matchups here. But week one, I do think that the Raiders will actually drop this game to the Chargers. So the Chargers win their home opener with Harbaugh at the helm, and then they're going to also win against Carolina and Pittsburgh. So feel pretty confident about those games. I mean, that's a pretty decent opening schedule in my opinion, but I don't know. It looks like we've got three different games there on your side. So I don't know. We'll have to talk about that. Week four against Kansas City, I've actually got the Chargers winning this one at home. So really solid start for the Chargers here, 4-0, heading into their bye though. But then they get their first loss after the bye to Denver of all teams. They beat the Chiefs but lose to Denver. Then we've got a few more wins for them here. They've got an easy win against Arizona, then a much tougher matchup here against New Orleans, but I think that they're going to still win that one. And then against Cleveland, I think they're also going to win. So really good. What's wrong with Cleveland, bro?
I mean, I think they'll beat I mean, actually no, I don't think they're gonna beat Cleveland or New Orleans, but it's just funny how you're like supporting your decisions from the past, but I don't think you fully buy into it anymore.
I mean, okay, Arizona, definitely. Like I'm definitely picking the Chargers over the Cardinals. How are you not picking the Chargers over the Cardinals,
The
bro?
Chargers are going to be so good this year. They're gonna be sneaky, bro. They're gonna be so
You mean the
sneaky.
Cardinals?
The Cardinals, yeah. Cardinals, my
Okay,
bad. They're gonna be so sneaky. Just look how good they were
bro.
at the end of last year.
I mean, who they beat? Like the Eagles?
They beat a whole bunch of teams at the end of last year, and they kept it close with the
Mm,
Niners.
the Niners were just ready to relax and enjoy their playoff spot at that point. They were just letting the Cardinals walk all over them, and then
They
they still
almost
ended
beat the
up winning.
Seahawks. They almost beat the Seahawks they lost by 1 point. They destroyed the Eagles. They
Well,
did lose to
that
the
okay, we already
Bears.
know the Eagles like sucked at that point. Bro, if you're including the fact that they lost to the Bears in your justification of why the Cardinals were good last year, that you completely lose all validity.
They beat the Steelers. They almost
Okay.
beat the Texans. Remember, I picked them to beat the Texans that week, and they almost pulled it off. They scared you a
I'm
little
hearing a
bit.
lot of almost in all of your explanations here, bro. They almost beat Seattle. They almost beat Houston.
No, I know, trust me. But hey, I see the makings of a really strong team this next year. And so if no
Okay.
one wants to buy into it, that's fine. I'll be the only
Well,
one.
I'm excited to see what record you have for them next week because if it's like 4-13, we're gonna have
No.
to have a little talk.
They'll be right around like 8 and 9, I think.
8-9, then that's
Yeah.
sneaky good.
I do think that's sneaky good. Yeah, that's sneaky good.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, certainly it's better than what they've been, but I don't know. I feel like sneaky good has to be like at least 11 wins.
11 wins is hefty. Sneaky good to me is like they're beating teams that no one's expecting them to beat.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't foresee them beating the Chargers still, honestly. And I don't think that Cleveland would beat the Chargers either, but I could see the New Orleans pick going the other way.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Tennessee, I've got beating the Chargers. It's crazy to me that this is the one team that I chose to beat the Chargers throughout the whole season. I mean, I don't know where my head was at there because I honestly would love to change that pick to the Chargers. But anyways, then we've got Cincinnati here at the Chargers, and I mean, yeah, honestly, these next two are ridiculous picks. I've
So
got,
you think the Chargers basically are 14-3 because they're gonna beat the Titans then?
yeah, but I don't think that they're going to truly beat the Bengals or the Ravens here, which I do have them beating because I picked them like weeks prior.
That's
But
wild.
which would mean that the Bengals I would have going 15-2.
That's even crazier.
I know,
Actually, no,
yeah.
that's not as crazy as what you have here for the Chargers.
I mean, no, yeah, this is a little bit absurd. We're living in fairy tale land right now. But yeah, then we've got a game against Atlanta here, and this one I could also see maybe going either way, but I've got the Chargers for this one. Got Kansas City beating the Chargers though, and the next week closing out the season here, Chargers have a probably their easiest stretch of the schedule or one of the easier stretches at the end of the season here. They've got games against Tampa Bay here, so I think that that one will be a win. And also Denver, but they're facing Denver while Chargers are at home. So I think that they'll get a win there as well. Last 2 weeks here, we've got the Chargers at New England. New England's going to suck this year. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst. So Chargers should win that game as well. And then I've got them losing to Las Vegas in the final week of the season. So brings their record to 13-4. Should be a lot lower. Ideally, like I would like this record to be like 10-7 or 11-6. Like that was where I would feel more comfortable. Maybe 11-6, honestly. I would like that number a lot because that would probably put them in wild card
Hmm.
contention, but they'd still lose the division.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I have them being like the most bipolar two-faced team ever. And it's
Yeah,
going to make
history
for
of the
the
league.
most fun, the most drama throughout the season. People are going to be calling for Jim Harbaugh's job. They're going to be criticizing the hell out of Justin Herbert. And then they're just going to automatically win 8 of their last 9 games. And it's going to be insane. It's going to be great. It's going to be must-watch TV because the
Hmm.
Chargers are going to end up being like in everyone's top 10 teams by the end of the year, but they will have
Yeah.
missed the playoffs by a couple games. I have
Dude,
them
that's a
losing.
sly prediction. I like that a lot, honestly. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
They start off losing a whole bunch of games here. At home against Vegas, on the road to Carolina, on the road at Pittsburgh, at home against Kansas City, going into the bye 0-4, come out of it, lose at Denver, lose at the Cardinals, who I think will be okay. Then New Orleans at Chargers, that's a win for the Saints. On the road at Cleveland, that's a win for the Browns. And then here's where they start their tirade, beating the Titans at home, going on the
So
road.
so before we get to that though, like I just gotta say, like 0-8. It's like how they start the season here, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I'd be like a little bit worried for them to even get to 0-8 and Harbaugh's like still there. Or like they hadn't made some major changes. Like I know that you said like they might be like thinking about firing him, but like they start off 0-8, bro. I feel like he might already be gonzo.
There is no way they fire their head coach, who they just brought in so excitedly from
Hmm.
Michigan, who just won a national championship, even if he goes 0-8, because the blame will
Okay.
be spread around a little bit. Like Justin Herbert will get some, sure the defense will get some, but they won't fire him like that. I
Yeah.
mean, we've seen coaches go deeper into the year, like the whole year,
Right.
and lose all the games and not get
Hmm.
fired until the end. And then this is where they change it around. Plus, the schedule is just a little bit harder, I think, early on. I really do think
Right.
there's some harder games in there. But then beat the Titans. They do lose to the Bengals at home, but then they just go on a never-ending winning tear. I mean, I give them the
Hmm.
win against Baltimore as kind of like a fluky one, but then
Yeah.
everything after that, I really feel good about. At Atlanta, at Kansas City, at home against Tampa, at home against Denver, and then on the road in New England, and then Vegas. That New England game's huge for them. No one else in the division gets it. And it's almost good enough to make the playoffs, but not
Hmm.
quite. But it's just so much of a transition, so much of a drastic change from earlier that everyone feels so great about them going into the offseason. And then next year, the year after, they are poised then to win the division and take the reins over from Kansas City.
That would be crazy, man. I would like to see that though. That would definitely like be a nice storyline for the NFL script writers to have cooked up this year. Like that's like the biggest drawing factor. Like first week, 8 weeks of the season, like the only totally defeated team is the Chargers. No wins. They're winless through 8 weeks. And then all of a sudden they turn it around, 1 win, 2 win. They're up to 9 wins or 8 wins, I guess, like by the end of the season. And it's just the storyline of the season, bro. I mean, that could definitely be enticing all over the news, ESPN, everyone be talking about that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It'd be like must-watch TV. It'd be so drama-filled.
Hmm.
Be great.
Yeah, downright soap opera.
Yeah, telenovela.
Yeah, I like that.
So there you guys have it. Our divisional predictions for the AFC West.
Yeah, that's 7 of 8 now. All we've got left here is the NFC West. So Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals, and oh man, I'm blanking. All the Rams.
Honestly, I feel like I might have the Rams winning that division.
That would be a sneaky pick. I mean, we've already made all of those picks already except for the division
Yeah.
matchups. So that's really going to be the
Yeah.
determining factor here.
I think I'm
I
gonna
don't
probably
know.
have them tying at 12-5, Cardinals going like 8-9,
Mhm.
9-8, and then the Seahawks being like 5-12, 5 and something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
I could
That's my
yeah, I could
prediction for
probably get behind
myself.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I like it. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. I think that I was probably super optimistic on the Rams. I honestly don't know that I picked any team against the Rams in all of the other games that we picked. So it's going to come down to the division matchups again.
Yeah. No, for sure. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Getting into my best bets recap. This is just a colorful mess.
I know it's just an absolute rainbow here. The question is, though, did you stay true to your word and sprinkle some coin on these bets?
I honestly had no time to because of the nature of my
Mm,
day on Tuesday. I immediately went from
gotcha.
one job to the other job.
Well,
But,
probably a good decision.
well, see, I knew if I did, I would lose anyways. And so I tricked it into thinking I was going to put money onto them. And that's why I didn't hit over 50%. I lost two of them on the refund base. I mean, I didn't lose, but just gone.
Yeah. Hmm.
Ones I felt good about, just postponed there. So voided. The
Yep.
Chicago Baltimore Nerfy didn't hit. The Washington money line didn't hit. Wasn't even close. Colorado money line didn't hit. Oakland Boston Nerfy not even close. The ones that did hit: Dodgers, Philadelphia Nerfy, Atlanta, Arizona Nerfy, and then the Rangers money line at minus 165 with no value whatsoever, but they did end up winning.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty wild. So here's the bets tracker update for you. Your ROI on the season, 0.02%.
Yeah.
You're positive though. Units, zero
Oh,
point zero 0.06 units up.
by a dick hair. I am just barely squeaking by. I only
Your
have
win
one
rate though,
bet. Yeah, I mean,
51%, 51.81% win rate,
I
129
guess.
wins, 120 losses, 7 refunds.
Well, we're in the All-Star break now, so I don't
Yeah.
have a ton of bets. I am just going to take the over in the National League, the All-Star game.
Okay, there we
It's
go.
crazy. You think they would want this game to be high scoring because
Hmm.
you know, it's like a special event, needs to be fun and
Yeah,
watchable, but like it always is low scoring.
it
So I'm
always
gonna
hits
take
the
the
under.
over. Yeah, it always hits the under for the most part. I mean, if you look here
Mm.
in the history of the All-Star game, last year 3-2, year before 3-2, year before 5-2, year before that 4-3. So the last 4 years, the under would have hit. You did have 8-6 in 2018, but then you immediately
Hmm.
go 2017, 2-1, 4-2.
Wow.
So usually the under would hit, but I'm gonna take the
Hmm.
over because I feel like they need to figure this shit out. I don't think ratings have been great for this game. They're like, we need to make
Yeah.
this thing more exciting, jack
Hmm.
up the scoring, whatever we need to do. They're playing in Texas. I mean, if they played this in the Rocky Stadium, like even then when they did a few years ago, it didn't hit the over. So I don't know.
Right.
We'll see. Maybe it's a
Good
stupid
pick.
bet.
No, no, I think
Thank you.
I mean it's liable to hit here. I'm just surprised they don't have any public betting percentages on CBS Sports for it yet since it's tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that is actually very strange. I was just about to try and get the odds for that, but there's none. Well, it's
Yeah, they're
minus
not
110,
there.
but yeah, no, it doesn't say where the public's at. which
Yeah.
I would be interested in seeing.
Hmm.
Maybe on FanDuel it will tell me.
Yeah, you'll have to look that up. I can't even access FanDuel anymore in Texas.
You
It's
could
just
go to the
annoying.
All-Star game. It's a little
Oh, it's in
far from
Texas?
Houston. It's in Arlington, but yeah, it's in Texas.
That's like a suburb of Dallas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got you.
All right, let's see here. If I could figure this out real quick.
See, on DraftKings, it will allow me to like open up the menu and I can like look at all the bets and like see everything. Like I can even click on MLB All-Star here and like I can see all the odds for it.
Yeah,
But on FanDuel, it just immediately takes me to a screen that says sports betting is only available in the following states. So I can't even like look at any of the lines.
that would really annoy me. Like I would hate to be like restricted
Yeah.
and not be able to do anything.
Oh, here we go. I can even see it here on DraftKings, bro. It says over 7.5, 54% of the public, and under
Okay.
7.5, 46%.
All right. So pretty
Pretty
split.
even split, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Fan mail time.
We got some fan mail this week, and looks like my dad is mostly in agreement with your rankings, or I guess not so much because he's got
The
Raiders and
Broncos
Chargers
being a
swapped
lot
here.
better.
All right. So his prediction is Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. And in an ideal world, that's what I would have had my division at as well.
Yeah.
But I ended up with the Chargers in one spot here. And he says, I think you will see the last three all near 500. So I guess he's more optimistic on the Broncos than both of
Hmm.
us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, a little surprised by that. I don't really foresee them being that good with a rookie QB. Like he's just got a lot of growth to be
Yeah.
had,
It would be tough. It would be tough to be 500 with that schedule too.
Yeah. He also says Chiefs will not be as dominant as in the past. They win many close games this year. I actually kind of like that pick though. I could I could get behind that. The Chiefs are not as dominant, but they still edge out
Yeah,
that 12-5 record by winning some close ones. I could see that
for
happening.
sure.
All right. Don't forget, Carolina lost Burns, so their defense will be weak. They'll be playing most games from behind, and that's not good for Bryce Young. So that was a reference to
I know.
our last week's pick here.
They
So I
added
guess
some pieces though. They added
they
some
added some
pieces.
pieces. Um, yeah, not bad
But
there.
that's good for Bryce Young's stat line though. I think he will have more production because he'll need to throw the ball more.
I mean, but I don't know that I necessarily padded his stat line even this past year because like he was still always playing from
Yeah, but
behind.
he was bad last year. Now he's developed and he's better.
I did see some pictures of him. He was getting a little bit juiced, a little bit jacked, so he was putting on some muscle,
Yeah.
which is
He needed to
good.
put on some girth for sure.
He did, yeah. All right, and last one. Raiders have QB issues with Minshew. I
No,
know you don't like that.
no. Minshew almost made the playoffs with the Colts. How could you say that?
Oh, you're not a fan of that take? Yeah, I think that
Hmm.
Minshew is a little bit better than Papa Bear's giving him credit for here, but to each their own. And finally, he says, Rhett, stop dreaming of Michael Penix.
Maybe I got a little carried away with my fantasy, but hey, it's Kirk Cousins who's dreaming about Michael Penix, not me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, you did tell me that one time about that seductive dream that you had with you and Michael Penix, but I mean, that's in the past.
Yeah, let's not bring that up. I've been dreaming lately about Sam Darnold, so
Yeah,
at least
exactly.
at least the Penix days are behind me.
There you go.
Yeah, don't want any, big Penix dreams on me
No, no,
these
absolutely
days.
not.
Trying to
Yeah, you got
transition over to backup QBs or like I mean, I guess Michael Penix is a backup QB, but more like more like a Colt McCoy, Sam Darnold type of guy.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right, that's all we have for you
Yeah, dude.
guys.
Wraps it up for this week. We already told you about next week is our final week, NFC West, and then after that, we've got NFL preseason starting. As crazy as that is, we only have one more podcast next week, and then the following week will be our preseason podcast because it starts that following week.
Yeah, I know. We're just cruising right through the off season. It's
I
almost
know,
college football time, end of
I know,
next
dude.
month.
I'm sure you're pumped for that, and I'm pretty excited to watch some ND
I
games as
mean,
well.
yeah, August 31st, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. That's the big one.
Dude, that's humongous.
It's
Yeah,
a tone setter for the whole year.
indeed it is. I still got to work on trying to get a free ticket to that game.
Yeah, you gotta sneak in somehow, bro.
I will. I'll make it happen. I
All right,
know too
man.
many people who've got tickets for the game to
I
not
know,
sneak into
like,
that.
yeah, I was just playing golf with someone the other day who's going down to the game, so I'm
Really?
jealous. Yeah.
No way.
So, all right, we'll have to sign off here.
Indeed. But
We will
stay
see you
tuned
guys next
for
week.
next
Yeah.
week. Yeah, we got a nice culmination to our 8 week fiasco of the division
The
standing predictions.
final installment in the saga.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, we'll see you guys then. Bye now.